Welcome back to The Current, a quick response news program from Jockey Club Tea College,
where we report on the latest issues, events, and culture. I'm Charlene.
And I'm Larry. Hey, Charlene, have you seen some of those videos about UFO sightings?
UFOs? You mean unidentified flying objects?
Yep, where no one can say if they're aliens or secret tech.
I have. This past year, there has been a real boom in news about UFOs.
Exactly, like the government hearings in Mexico with supposed alien bodies.
A ton of released video from the US of sightings by military personnel.
A report by the US Pentagon of more than 140 unexplainable sightings.
A UFO sighting from the space station by a French astronaut, and more.
But what about Hong Kong? Has anyone seen a UFO in Hong Kong?
Yes, of course. But rather than go into that ourselves, we wanted to do something different and talk to real experts. 3 in fact. Ms. Fong, founder of the Hong Kong UFO Club.
Mr. Seto Wah Koon, former Sing Tao photojournalist.
And Mr. Neil Gould, director of the Exopolitics Institute.
That's why this is a special episode of The Current, because we won't just do the research ourselves, but share with you students everything these experts told us about UFOs in Hong Kong.
The chair of The Current, Noel, took on the challenge of being a reporter.
Let's see what she found. Take a look.
What inspired you to start the Hong Kong UFO Club? There's a UFO researcher from America. He was having a lecture in the stadium house before the lecture. And I said, it would be wonderful if there's a table in a certain hour, certain day, that all the UFO fans will gather together and talk about all the UFO things. Mando went up to the stage in the break time. He told the whole floor, somebody's going to start a club. Talk to her. All the microphone come over and say, how are you going to start the club? In that one split second, I decided not to say no. I said, it's in the middle of organizing the club. And so the club started.
What are its main goals and activities?
I think the main goal is to plan all the UFO activity in Hong Kong.
What are your main activities?
Is to do everything UFO like what I saw in America. They have UFO lecture, they have gathering, they have channel section, everything.
Are there a lot of people in Hong Kong who believe in UFOs?
其實唔係好多㗎咋，只係一小撮人，好似我哋呢班人咁啦，開放胸襟係了解呢方面嘅嘢，同埋接收呢方面嘅資訊。
Sure, there's a lot of people in Hong Kong who believe in UFOs. They tend to be more open-minded in this part of the world.
What are some of the most interesting or unusual UFO sightings that have occurred in Hong Kong?
There was a mass sighting around Wah Fu Estate, and there are many witnesses. They spot the UFO at different times during a long period of time, and many different witnesses. Sometimes the whole family see it.
What is the proof that happened?
如果好多人咧就問我哋個證據喺邊度？證據就係喺啲市民嘅目擊嘅描述，唔同嘅市民嘅描述，產生咗一個同一件事件嘅過程。
In Hong Kong, there was one in Repulse Bay where diamond-shaped craft hovered over the bay about 20 or 30 years ago. And it can be seen on YouTube. The Wah Fu estate comes to mind. But of course, from my point of view, the most impressive one was the sighting that I was very fortunate enough to witness that happened in the year 2000 above the IFC1 building when 4 craft appeared, which were at least 800 feet across and about 800 meters high above the IFC building, which are calibrated using the beam of light that emanates from the building. There's not the only time I've seen a UFO. I've seen many UFOs. I've seen them when I was in South Africa through personal experiences that I've had. I've seen them in America, several occasions, and I've seen them plenty of times in Hong Kong too. Why have I seen them so many times? You do find with contactees, those are people who are really sort of had experience in this field with these entities, that they seem to gravitate towards us. What I mean by that is, I have had contact with aliens, and that makes me more aware. And obviously, it's one of the reasons why these craft tend to gravitate around us.
How do you prove it?
We have a whole bunch of PhD in the university, and they can access different laboratory and can measure, analyze the distance. They do a triangular setting with testing and try to find out how big, or is it a faked one, that's an insert and it's not real size?
The proof is there. First of all, I have samples of wreckage from the Roswell accident. Second of all, the United States government has already declared, the Pentagon has declared, that these craft that are seen are structured. They've released 3 different films, video films, showing these craft taken with FLIR, which is, forward-looking infrared, and gun camera footage. And these craft are doing 90-degree turns at high speed, which would crush any normal person. So the disclosure process is now happening. The way you prove UFO sightings, it's been done by optical physicists, a guy called Bob Oshler. There are various people in America who are experts, Kodak Eastman, who have actually analyzed various film footage that were taken in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. And they have found that these craft have a different relation to space-time, their physics, than we have. And therefore they find all sorts of contortions and tribulations in the pictures of these craft. And these optical physicists are 100% sure.
How do you prove this?
嗱，我嘅工作咧就係收集個案啦，同埋我做一個叫查證嘅工作，睇下佢係講啲事件係有冇邏輯性，係合唔合理，同埋要揾多幾個人證去證明佢哋見過啲乜嘢，因為人證係最緊要嘅，可以呈現嗰件事件嘅立體性裏邊。
If you're thinking it's just Photoshop, let me tell you that I'm not talking about very recent cases. I'm talking about cases before Photoshopping was even possible. I'm talking about the Space Brothers in the 50s, in the 60s, the different sightings that happened in the 70s. This is all well before Photoshopping took place.
Have you ever seen a UFO?
Yes, I did. I saw it in Mexico. I lived there for almost a year. I was with Seto Wah Koon, the most famous contactee in South America. We walked down from the Pyramid of Sun down to the middle, the Avenue of the Death. And then when I look up, I see a UFO, typical type. And they kind of like a falling leaf going down like this. But they're not going down. They're going up in the sky and getting smaller and smaller. Then it went away, so small that we couldn't see it.
咁我係見過嘅，係1999年嘅11月18號咧，嗰個凌晨時間咧，我嗰日咧就去睇獅子座流星雨。咁啊，我喺度影相嘅過程之中係見到一個不明飛行物體嘅光點喺個天空度喐下喐下喐下。咁啊，解釋唔到佢唔係一般嘅飛機，亦都唔係地球裏邊嘅科技。
What do you think of all the recent interest in UFOs?
我覺得咧係有一個幕後嘅政府咧，係將呢一方面嘅資訊慢慢滲出嚟俾我哋啲市民大眾知道。係一個熱身嘅功夫。
There is a renewed interest in UFOs because a lot of people are searching for hope, number one. The world is getting difficult. Number two, the Pentagon, the US Air Force are releasing gun camera footage. That's created a tremendous interest in the press and it's really spreading very, very fast.
What do you think of what's going on in Mexico?
墨西哥政府咧就開咗個聽證會咧，就講呢件疑似外星人喺秘魯發現嘅3個外星人啦。
Mexico is a real interesting place because they have a lot of ancient ruins and there are many, many sightings that actually do take place there. However, without mentioning names, there are various researchers who tend to jump on the bandwagon of any kind of anomalous thing like a mummy or pictures that are found with somebody in an attic, and they immediately link this to sort of dead aliens or UFOs. To be honest with you, I don't really believe much about what the Mexican governments are putting forward with alien bodies, etc. I'm not saying the aliens don't exist, I'm just saying that what they're showing, to me, I'm very skeptical.
How about all the recent reporting from ex-government officials in the USA?
The government officials are coming out and disclosing bit by bit. They will not come out with too much too quick. For example, they're admitting that there are structured craft in the sky, but they're not going to say who's in them. They rather turn around and say, well, we don't know. They're just trying to give people a chance, give them time to catch up, because it's 70 years of secrecy, if you like, and the door is now being opened.
因為咧美國咁多年嚟咧受咗好多輿論嘅壓力，佢點都要滲少少資訊出嚟，就然後咧就其實呢個係可能係有一個政治嘅目的喺後邊嘅，但係我哋唔知係咩目的。
How about the aerial school mass sighting by 62 students in Zimbabwe?
呢件事咧發生喺1994年嘅，咁就喺間小學裏邊咧有62個細蚊仔咧喺操場裏邊見到一個銀色嘅飛碟降落咗喺個草場裏邊嘅，咁亦都有2個外星人喺個飛碟，然後有一個就行咗落嚟個草地嗰度邊。 咁啊就令到咧學生有一個好強烈嘅記憶，而佢哋大家形容出嚟都唔同，但係佢畫出嚟嘅圖片咧係一樣嘅。咁我覺得呢件事係個可信性好高，因為咧佢有咁多個目擊證人見到同一樣嘢。咁咧而家後尾引起咗啲電影商咧就去報導呢件事，然後拍咗段紀錄片，嚟緊就會有得出街睇到嘅。
That's 100% true. You just need to look at the film by James Fox called The Phenomenon. You can see it on Netflix. You'll see all these young kids who were out in the playground, and this craft landed and these small beings came out and they interacted with the children and was mind-to-mind telepathic communication. They were putting through good vibes, look after your planet, be careful, avoid nuclear, etc., etc. And the same children 20 years later were interviewed by James Fox, and the stories are absolutely the same, and the teachers were all apologizing for not taking it seriously at the time. But the Rua incident is not the only time this has happened. It happened in Woodbridge in Australia as well, the exact same thing.
What are some of the challenges you face as a UFO researcher in Hong Kong?
咁我覺得個難處咧就係個孤軍作戰啦，因為成個香港係暫時係得我一個人去做呢樣嘢啦。咁亦都有好多人咧就質疑我個研究啦。咁而係即係話有咩危險咧？其實即係話我唔知到期時咧，我研究啲嘢會唔會涉及到一啲安全嘅問題啊？我係都未知嘅一樣嘢。
The challenge is you try to fire them up and you want to get ready to go to the next step, one level up, but then they're still staying down here.
One of the challenges I face is when we sort of invited out for friends, for dinners, etc. One of the challenges is you get sort of scientists and professional people who challenge you because this subject goes way above their head. It's right out of their comfort zones, and they prefer to argue with you and to close their minds rather than to sit down and ask, sensible questions about what is this field really all about. Are we alone? They tend to think we are.
What are some of the common misconceptions or myths that people have about UFOs and aliens?
The aliens are not here, they haven't come here yet.
People basically think that they're evil, that they're demons, etc., etc. They do not fully understand the field. The field is very, very deep. Actually, I think people have less fear over UFOs now. In fact, it's been overtaken by more interest in the field.
咁啊，而家好香港人咧，好有時咧誤解咗啲天上嘅啲星星啊，或者金星，最主要金星啊，當作係 UFO 外星人啊，或者一啲不明飛物體啦。咁其實呢個好大嘅誤解嚟嘅。咁我嘅身份咧，希望可以將佢釐清嗰方面嘅誤解，然後講一啲嗰啲唔係你哋想象中嘅 UFO 嚟嘅。
How do you educate and raise awareness about UFOs?
We have many big UFO conferences.
嗱，我咧做個案查證咧，唔可以講話教育啦，我只係公開我自己嘅研究啦。咁希望佢哋大家可以廣納一啲嘅意見啦，廣納啲研究報告，同埋用自己嘅批判角度，就唔好道聽途說。然後咧就係即係希望可以咧將一啲邏輯性擺喺裏邊。同埋要揾多啲目擊證人去證明一啲嘅個案咧，就唔係淨係得一個人見到，應該有幾個人見到咧，就會個可信性會高好多。
I have made many YouTube films. Put my name in Neil Gould or Exopolitics Hong Kong. You'll see I made over 50 films. And the other way is I go to conferences sometimes. I do talks and what have you. Go to schools and talk at schools or groups. And I wrote an autobiography, a book called Close Encounters of the ADHD Kind. And it's all about my experiences with UFOs.
What are some of the current or future projects or initiatives that your club is working on or planning to do?
Right now, we are working on the UFO Festival. Next April, from April 1st to April 11th, we're going to have 3 days of exhibition, and then we have a UFO drama. Good for little kids and families.
嗱，而家我仲繼續做緊研究咧，就係嗰個秘魯疑似外星人。嗰個咧，其實我覺得就係仲有得好多研究嘅機會，因為嚟緊咧喺12月即係7號咧就會嚟緊，仲有一個再更進一步嘅國會去聽證會，講呢個秘魯疑似外星人就喺墨西哥裏邊進行緊嘅。
Well, we are working more on this, consciousness studies. I tend to go to the States and meet up with some of the insiders, if you like, from time to time. And we're looking for new tools, new ways to approach the subject than just the traditional, I want proof, kick the tires, nuts and bolts, because it's not about that.
As a conclusion, what would you like to say to secondary students in Hong Kong about UFOs?
Open your mind and look at all the possibilities.
嗱，我係想香港嘅中學生咧 open mind 啊，開放我哋嘅心窗，去接收唔同嘅資訊，同埋咧就唔好道聽途說，要加上自己嘅批判同埋自己嘅研究。
We are now moving into this new age of consciousness, this new way of understanding that we are not alone. And to grasp that, you have to do a lot of intensive research on consciousness to understand how you're going to absorb and come to terms with beings that are not like us, because eventually we have to integrate with the cosmic community.
Wow, those are all such interesting people.
I know, my mind is kind of blown by everything they said. To conclude, we at the Current are not saying we believe in UFOs or anything else said in this episode.
Nor are we saying you should believe in UFOs. We're just curious about what's going on and what others have for explanations.
One interesting thing we did not really go into in our interviews with experts was conversations about aliens.
In fact, each of our guests also discussed the possibility that some aliens might already be here, on Earth. Maybe even a number of different species, or kinds of aliens.
Tall, short, thin, or fat, you mean?
Or invisible, on a different frequency, or wavelength, cat-like, deer-like, or reptilian?
This is all a bit too much for me.
I know, leave that to the movies.
But it does make me wonder what comes next in what we believe. Because if we or any of you students do decide to believe in UFOs,
Which we're not telling you to do.
then don't you have to believe that maybe an alien is flying them?
Someone has to fly them.
And if they're here, they're not just going to fly around and leave, right?
Why come all this way?
Instead, wouldn't they want to land, walk around, and even interact?
Meet with powerful people? Set up bases? On the land? Under the sea?
Whoa, whoa, whoa. That is a whole new worldview. Again, it's just like Men in Black and many other movies. Too much.
Okay, we don't want to permanently damage Laurie's brain. So let's wrap this up.
Thank you.
All we and the experts can say is that you students and viewers should keep an open mind and do your own research.
But be careful, because not all UFO stories and sightings are real, or even aliens.
Of his co-workers saw these 5
But don't just cancel or disbelieve everything. Even the US government has officially said that a small percentage of all reported sightings are truly unexplainable.
Those are the ones that we have to worry or be excited about.
That's all for this special episode of The Current.
Thanks for watching.
See you next time.
Bye.